Well, welcome to our fifth installment of A View from the Pew with Lou. Hello, my name is Lou Arnold, and I'm the lay leader of Hope United Methodist Church. And if you don't mind, I'll just take a brief personal moment to thank the folks who were worried about me last week. My voice was kind of bad, and didn't really feel like I could hold a conversation, so I appreciate all the well wishes. And also the conversations about the blog, and one of which quite honestly led to what I want to talk about today. And if you'll remember, our blog is to really have a dialogue within the community about the issues of faith here at Hope United Methodist, and also to get some input from the community into the leadership conversations. So this particular installment continues to focus on unpacking the elements of our vision and mission here at Hope, which are connecting with God, each other, and our community as we grow in mature discipleship of Jesus Christ by experiencing God and sharing the love of Jesus. So today I want to look at connecting with our community. You remember a few weeks ago we started with the primary connection, and that is between ourselves and God. Secondly, because we love God with all our heart and soul and our neighbor as ourselves, our next vision for that is to connect with one another, which can happen in many ways. And this last piece continues this sense of action, that is connecting with our community. So I really want to take and look at this in two installments, if you will. Today's blog, I want to focus on some of the history and maybe some of the DNA that we understand ourselves to be as Methodists. And then next week, maybe look at some of the specific ways that we can connect within our community. So it's easy to think of connection sometimes as how people sort of come to our church. How do they show up here? We are open. We allow people to come in. We also think of connecting with our community through things like doing good or local missions, whatever the right word for that is. However, it's really much larger than that. Essentially, what I want to talk about today is how does a Methodist, how do we see ourselves in relationship with our community? And it just doesn't mean here. It means with our community throughout the world. Now, you may not be familiar with this, and I just have the cover of it, but every Methodist church is sort of guided by this book. It's called the Book of Discipline. And within the Book of Discipline, we have a listing of what we call our social principles. The social principles have been a part of our religion for a very, very long time, and they get their roots from our founder, John Wesley, who believed that in order to be fully following God, one must have a holiness of heart, which is matched by a holiness of life. And let me say that you can get a copy of the Book of Discipline. We have one on here at the church, or you can go online and we'll have a connection link for you to do that to the main website of the United Methodist Church. And I would urge you to familiarize yourself as to what the social principles of the United Methodist Church actually are, because they cover the community we find in nature, the community of economics, the community of politics, the community of the social world, the community of the world itself at large. And they also have a social creed. And that social creed really defines how Methodists understand the way that we are to live within our society. I just want to read a couple of those items for you from the website. In our social creed, we of the United Methodist Church commit ourselves to the rights of women, children, youth, young adults, the aging, and people with disabilities to improve the quality of life and the rights and dignities of all persons. In addition to that, we dedicate ourselves to peace throughout God's world in human affairs and gladly accept our commission to manifest the life of the gospel in the world. And I can't help but think, if you were here with us, or you can check out online, our Pastor Kelly's charge, especially in light of some of the terrible tragedies in our schools recently, and indeed in our nation and the world over the last few years, that the response to this sense of chaos in society, as far as a Methodist is concerned, is to get involved, is to move beyond our local place and be an active force in our community. And this is exactly what Pastor Kelly said. And it comes not only from his heart and passion for what he sees as his calling in the world as a pastor, but it is also a part of the very nature of our DNA, the way we understand ourselves as Methodists, and specifically the way we see ourselves as Methodists as part of Hope United Methodist Church. Back in 1775, in a sermon that Wesley wrote called, to be quite frank with you, National Sins and Miseries, what Wesley was particularly calling out is that we all have a personal responsibility for justice and peace in the world, and that each one of us, as we exercise these things together, it builds into a national movement, if you will. Or the other way around is, as we neglect our role in injustice, as we sit on the sidelines, if you will, and don't participate in the community as a whole on a worldwide basis, then the opportunity for evil grows ever more in society. And just let me say, what Wesley said was, who knows, but the Lord will yet be entreated and will calm the madness of the people, will quench the flames of contention and breathe into all a spirit of love and unity and accord. Then brother shall not lift up sword against brother, neither shall they know war anymore. Then shall plenty and peace flourish in our land, and all the inhabitants will be thankful for the innumerable blessings which they enjoy. To be a Methodist, to understand what it means to be connected to our community, goes far beyond what we may think of every Sunday when we come to our church. And just as our pastor has suggested to us, indeed has challenged us, to be connected to our community means that we must actively engage in ministries that lead to the betterment and safety and health to others. So, in our next installment, what I'd like to do is maybe take a look at some of the ways which we as a church, and specifically we as individuals, can and are involved in the community that surrounds our church, and even with respect to our international ministries beyond and into the world. So thank you. Again, remember, please offer your questions or comments so we can continue to keep this as a conversation. And I'll see you next week. Take care.